Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Masters of Marketing. Now, for our eagle-eyed and eagle-eared viewers amongst you, you will notice that this is not Andy speaking to you, and you are completely right. My name is Tara Levy. I am the marketing coordinator at Marmind, and I'm thrilled to announce that I am your new host. Enough about me. I am far too excited. Let's jump in, and I would love to introduce my wonderful first guest, Carole Picou-Katmann, who is the marketing doctor and offers fractional CMO services through the Entrepreneur Whisperer. Carole, welcome to Masters of Marketing.
Thank you for having me, Tara. Thank you. Very excited about the upcoming chat.
Perfect. So am I. I think let's jump in straight away. And I think let's start off with through the Entrepreneur Whisperer. What do you offer?
So basically, through the Entrepreneur Whisperer, I'm offering founders and CEO like some strategic and marketing support. What I realized in my career, and I've been working, with founders, whether it's within company and most recently alongside companies, I've realized like the loneliness that it gets. And sometimes they're like, we get tunnel vision. We need someone else to come in and help us out. So that's what I'm doing, especially in organization where they're at a crossroad, meaning that it's a startup that, just starts setting up and they need a bit of structure and guidance and senior leadership on how to go forward, or a scale up that maybe has closed a round of funding and is ready for the next stage, but is like, okay, we've been running things this way. It's not very scalable. Maybe we can have someone who has a bit of experience guiding us through the process. So as a fractional CMO is really, I would say, temporary intervention. I come in like maybe for 1 day, 2 days a week for a couple of months, help set up. And then usually it's a bit like, I think, now you may be released in the wild. You're good. You're good to go.
Off
So
you go, be free.
absolutely, the caretaking stage has happened. And then, usually like I help them, get into shape where they'll be like fully sustainable.
Amazing. And I think talking about sustainability, something that you focus on quite a lot is conscious consumerism, especially within marketing, if I'm not wrong.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've been working in different industry, and I think as I kind of grew up and matured, I realized that marketing was associated with a force of evil. It was always like, oh yeah, you want me to buy more stuff, but the planet is, is at risk. So I was like, I'm like, okay, how can I change the narrative and use, this beautiful, I would say, dynamic that marketing is to actually turn it around. I think, we always look at the bleaker side, but I think consumer want to know more. The younger generation want to see more transparency in brands. And how do we turn marketing for a force of good? How do we help mission driven companies? And it's funny when I say mission driven, when I talk to a lot of folks, like, what do you mean by that? It's like, company that want to have an impact where a purpose is designed from the get-go. It's not an afterthought. So when they start building it, it's like, this is our purpose. This is what we're going to contribute. It's our vision, if you want, but our vision is not only to make money. I mean, when I work for for-profit company, obviously, but it's like money for good.
Absolutely. I mean, you're completely right. It almost sounds like a little bit of a paradox because marketing is traditionally linked to consumerism. You look back in history and that's where it is. But I think there's also, as you've been saying, that there's the real world trends coming up as like the rise in eco-conscious brands in all fields, ESG investing and even kind of carbon labeling. So which sort of fields do you focus on?
So my fields are very various, like they're very diverse. I have this chance as a fractional CMO. There's also like great magic of that role. Right now, so I work with a client, tech clients. I work with a client in AI as well. I work with a client in food industry when it comes to like fermentation. I work with a client in the Web3 space. So it's very diverse. They all have the component of purpose driven. And for me, this is really something that is close to my heart. I'm also talking to a cosmetic company that is sustainable and eco-conscious. So it's really like, I think every company can be built with a sense of purpose. Some will be like fully driven, like Patagonia, Allbirds, even Tom Shoes at the beginning, early on, some kind of mainstream ones that you could think of. but Ben and Jerry's, even like not only sustainable but extremely political. I think, when I understand founder, they're like, yeah, but I don't have the luxury to focus on sustainability. There are so many studies that have proven that if you do actually focus on sustainability, and I mean sustainability in a green way, not like financial sustainable, obviously, that's what you're aiming for, but
Yeah.
that your bottom line is actually going to be rewarded for doing something good for the world or the planet, or how you want to frame it.
So
So
it can create a knock-on, like a domino effect.
absolutely, because again, it's consumer are going to be more loyal to a brand that is eco-conscious or like in the path toward sustainability. And it's interesting. I mean, I'm saying this, I mean, there's still a long way, because actually in the UK, there was a study that is done, I think, by Gardner not too long ago. 81% of UK consumers are wanting to buy more sustainable alternative, but only
Okay.
26% are doing it
Oh,
because they're
wow.
misinformed. It's not always, the myth is like, oh, it's more expensive. It's not always more expensive. People just doubt, is it really sustainable? And I think it goes a bit to our point about greenwashing, and how can you flag greenwashing versus the real honest company that are doing the right thing, right?
Absolutely. I think let's definitely dive into greenwashing, because I think that's it's almost been a trending subject for years now. Is a company really sustainable? Do they have these practices and it does come from their marketing, or are they just greenwashing over it? So I would love it if you to tell me just, ultimately what is greenwashing, and then what can companies do
Yeah,
to make sure they're not, to build it up from their marketing level.
absolutely. I think so. As a consumer, I would maybe start with this. As a
Mhm.
consumer, when you see claims being quite vague, like, I don't know, it's like, we're eco-friendly. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Versus we're 100%, this packaging is 100% recyclable. That's clear. The facts are I can verify if I want it, but what do you mean by eco-friendly? It's something like, oh, you're not testing on animals. What does, just tell me about it. Um, I think also as a consumer, maybe be mindful when you see certification. So B Corp, the 1% for the planet, you have climate neutral, you have a bunch of them, like actually tested vegan, tested on animals, you have
Mhm.
some certification. I'm taking a B2C example, but a B2B example is the same. So for my climate tech client, so we do focus on carbon offset, carbon removal, carbon reduction plans, and offer alternative in different type of technology. And, we can back our claim by saying, yeah, we're credible because we have a bunch of certification that are actually not easy to get. I'll give you, like, not to get into the jargons, but there's a certification called across, and
Mhm.
only 27 companies in the world who are doing carbon offsets have it, because it's extremely complicated to get. So you have millions of brokers. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but like thousands and thousands of brokers, but only 27 have this accreditation, which really validates that you're a credible, responsible partner in your actions. So I think for consumer, whether it's B2B or B2C, look for certifications, look to make sure that you have third party validation. I'm always mindful of awards, because, as you may know, awards, sometimes you submit and you pay fees and you get, like the
Yeah.
first row, like the first place and all that. Third party verification are really, for me, a claim for good. So that's really important.
Mhm.
As a consumer, you can also I'm just giving you tips like that comes a bit like, but as a consumer, you also need to look if there's impact reports, if there are like annual reports, impact report, dashboard that show measurable progress, and for brands, I think, like, I'm a bit flipping the script, but that's first for consumer. For brand, it's okay. It's okay to be on your journey. It's okay not to have everything figured out, but I think you need to be transparent about it. Hey, we're starting the journey. I don't know, I'm giving an example. We've just applied to be a B Corp, it's, in the process, this is what we've been doing with this supplier. This, show transparency, show behind the curtain what's happening. I'm really a big fan of behind the scene footage or content. And it's not only me. I mean, when I say I'm a big fan as a marketer, I'm a big fan because usually you'll be surprised, but those pieces of content are the one that are performing the best. When I was like, in B2C industry, I remember when we were developing campaign or product, like you have your polished campaign.
Hmm.
Behind the scene, we're performing better than the campaign itself. Because people want to understand, how do you do this? What is the secret recipe and in which condition do you do it? So I think for a brand on the journey to sustainability, showing the steps and showing that, hey, we're not perfect, but we have the ambition. And that's already a good step forward. It's not good enough, but it's a good step forward.
No, I like that. And I think it is, you're completely right with the progress that companies making. It's about, because I think it was earlier you mentioned about customer loyalty, and it's about building up that loyalty, whether it's a B2B, B2C, D2C, anything else company. It's about having that trust. And especially with marketing, you see it all over, whether it's different versions of social media or campaigns online or advertisements, that companies have been leaning for years into more of a behind the scenes view to show you whether it's the people behind the company or the decisions that have been made. But maybe to play devil's advocate a little bit, if you were working as a fractional CMO and one of your clients, one of the companies, wanted to show, especially with their sustainability and their marketing, things that went wrong. So you said about imperfections, we're not quite there yet, but would you also be an advocate for the storytelling of when things go wrong?
I think it's it's a bit like the Instagram versus reality type of stories.
Yeah.
You have the true life and you have what you want to show the world. Uh, obviously you don't want your transparency to turn into a PR crisis.
No.
So I think showing mistakes and how you rectify them is, to me, the way to go. I think, we don't have it always right, and sometimes we try, we iterate, and we figure out along the way. But as long as you said, hey, this happened, this is how we, correct it. This is the solution we provided. Um, it's, it's interesting. I may plug here an example. I don't know if you remember, like, the Dove campaign back in the days and how they evolved. It was like, they were the first one with body positivity, and they got a lot
Yes.
of
Yes.
backlash. Sorry,
Backlash.
backlash,
Yeah.
because they were also in the same holding like Unilever as Axe, like the
Yeah.
deodorant, where men was like, I when I put it on, like I'm mostly like a masculine man, and all the women are chasing me down the street. And they were like, how is that possible that the same company does it? So I don't know if you've seen, but Axe is
Yeah.
not so strong anymore. It kind of took down. And Dove has really embraced the narrative even further. And so they did like act as a woman, act as a girl, run like a girl type of campaigns and all of that. And so I was reading an article saying that Dove is actually, out of all the portfolio, all the brands that Unilever has in the portfolio, the brand, the organization that has the most loyal customers. Because I think, they super mainstream, but they've managed to evolve their narrative.
Hmm.
They went into a PR crisis and they were like, no, we'll stick our gun. We're gonna make a choice that, to tone down a bit ads. Yes, we still have it, but this is not gonna be like our focus, and just go a little bit forward with the narrative and amplify what we're doing. And they were, it's still a mainstream company that actually is a plastic polluter. So
Hmm.
far from being perfect, but they were the first, I give them credit for being the first body positive brand out there back in the day where body positive was not even a topic.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. I remember those ads going out. I think, well, I was in all over Europe at that point, so it was crazy. And people, it was, I mean, and obviously until I'm English, it's like Marmite. People either loved it or they hated it.
exactly.
And it really is a great example of how brands can go from we're sticking to our guns with this version of sustainability. And it's different for all of them and carrying on. But you are right, there's a long way to go. So let's just go back a little bit. If you were going to go in as a fractional CMO, and we've got a new marketing company in let's say in AI tech, what would you say that this company's marketing department, director, team needs to do from the get-go in order to grow in the way that you would be able to help them in sustainability?
Yeah. So I think it's always an exercise that I love doing with brands, even established one. Is like, can we look at your brand platform and where is sustainability? When I say brand platform, maybe let me clarify. Your mission, your vision, your brand values, your value proposition, your unique selling proposition, like the differentiator in the market. Uh, what are your type of customer? Like, and by the way, if I may open, like, I'm not a big fan of persona. For me, it's more, I cluster people by behavior more than,
Yeah.
her name is Stephanie. She's 36 and she has a dog and 2 kids. And we live in the suburb. For me, this is a bit like passé. So it's more like cluster as how people behave. And then, so target audience and elevator pitch. So really understanding, okay, let's go through that. That's my first exercise. And then I'm like, okay, where is sustainability in it? Oh, there's none. Okay. Which means that we're going to have to relook at your brand platform and understand why sustainability is now important, and like it's, again, I was saying it earlier, it should not be an afterthought. It should not be a gimmick to buy a good conscience. It should be an active and I would say a well thought decision that you take that will impact obviously your external exposure to the world, but also your internal activation with your team. What you may actually, like, it's in employer branding term, it's been known that if you have a sustainable type of business, you will be attracted talents more than if you don't. As a side note, I've been reading a study that L'Oreal is having a tougher time to recruit than before because of that, And back in my days when I was in business school, university, like everybody wanted to work at L'Oreal. Now everybody wants to be an entrepreneur with a mission. So it's, the world is changing in that sense, the Western world, at least I would say. So going back to your question, I would do that. And I would challenge them and saying, why is it important? What does it mean to you? Why are you doing it? And how can we translate it? And translate it in, and I'm going to use maybe an insult, but translate it into profit, because sustainability or taking a conscious course to be a mission-driven company should not be a trade-off. Should not, it's not going to be a blocker or a drain. And that's what I see a lot with my climate tech client. We like people say, oh, we have to buy, like carbon credit because, we have to comply. But maybe it's not a reason, it's a strong enough reason. You may want to do it because you think it's the right thing for your company. And you will see at the end of the day, it's not a trade-off. It's not a drain on your resources. It's not a drain on, your ability to go next. It's actually, it's going to be a lever for growth, and we'll show you. So I think, employer branding, you're attracting more talent, you're attracting more loyal customers. You have a stronger story maybe versus the competition. You're being seen as a pioneer because you are doing things a bit differently, not only with your solutions, whatever solution you're offering, but also because you have a mindset that is more forward thinking. Does it and I can go on, the list is long, but depending on the client, there might be a little bit of a drain on your financial resources, but it's in the short term. It will, I can guarantee you, it will help you go further.
So it's a real investment in the future.
Absolutely.
Even if you're not entirely sure which part of the future will be an investment in at the beginning, it is going to be an investment that's going to pay off.
It's not me saying it. It's really, you look it up, you have, you have so many data showing it's actually good for your business. So, how about like an amazing, it's good for your customer, it's good for your business, and it's good for the planet. Why wouldn't you want to do this?
Exactly. It's a win-win all around. It's not even one of those situations of when you put it like that, it's like, no, here's all the data. It's all there. You just have to, I suppose, the companies with these marketing departments, because again, this is where it grows from. They need to make this decision that they want this as a root, as a seed to then grow.
Exactly.
Um, Something that I think I saw online with you was brand footprint auditing,
Yeah.
which I think is something that is quite niche in the best way, and that maybe a lot of marketing departments, maybe they do, maybe they don't do it. But could you maybe take us through that and explain why it can be so necessary?
Yeah. So it's, as you said, like very few companies are doing that. It's really like I would say the forward looking company. The why, the company, I mean, maybe I'll plug that quickly, to explain my reasoning, but it's the company that I really thought about the why.
Hmm.
I don't know if you know Simon Sinek. I'm a big fan, but he has this theory. He has the three cycle. You have the how. As a company, usually you know how you do it and what you do. You
Hmm.
know, so the what, I don't know. I sell shampoo, and how. Oh, I have a distribution center and I sell it through supermarket and beauty store.
Yeah.
And why? And that's most of the time, I think purpose-driven company, they know their why, so it's so engraved in the company that they're like, okay, our purpose is so strong. We know why we're doing this. The brand, usually when you have a company that does brand audit, usually they know their why very much. So
Yeah.
I think, just as a bridge, I would say, like, as a company, if you're looking into embracing sustainability, think of your why. Yeah. And so brand audit, brand, like footprints. So there's a couple of ways, and I don't want to be super technical, but, you know, there's greenhouse emission, there's scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Scope
Hmm.
1 is really, like a nuclear plant or electricity. You see the small one. This
Yeah.
is the scope 1. The scope 2 is you as a consumer. At home, you have electricity. And the matter of producing electricity for you is like part of the scope 3 emission, scope 2 emission. And the scope 3 is really something that is related to the supply chain. So usually so it's a level of sophistication that I'm explaining really roughly, and probably like sustainability accountability. Like, this is not how you should say it, but I'm giving you a rough picture of it.
Yeah.
When you do create a service or a product, it's things that you need to look into. You need to analyze your product life cycle emission. Look at your supply chain. How does it work? Is it produced locally? Is it produced like far away?
Hmm.
What is like the shipping method? Is it by plane? Is it by boat? What type of boat? How does it get delivered to whatever warehouse, customer, electric, truck? You don't know. Your packaging as well. Your packaging waste. Is it recyclable? Is it actually already packaging made out of recycled? You know, I can you as a customer do something with the packaging? And I will plug a very concrete example. So earlier in my career, I had also a company and I was designing furniture for cats. I'm a big pet lover. And I was, okay, I'm going to find the antidote to the ugly cat tree. And when I was shipping my product, which are like quite big,
Hmm.
so the cardboard, which was recycled and recyclable, you could turn it into a house for the cat. So, it was cut out. And so I did something with the packaging, some were going to waste, but, the recycle bin. And as a pet parent, you could actually use the packaging to create something out of it. So you see, I've seen that more and more with, like, especially forward thinking,
Yeah.
sustainable brand. When you receive if it's a D2C, they tell you, you can do this with the box afterwards, or or you've seen that, like, it's already started with business card, you give your business card, you have seeds in it, and then you're going to have a tomato plant. Then
Absolutely. You can have it with the toffee tops as well. The edible toffee tops, you see that a lot at business conferences. I don't really see them, let's say B2C, in the sense of toffee shops, that sort of thing, but definitely these professional networking places. It's a here's your toffee, which everyone's going to be wanting, and it's a snack as well.
absolutely.
There's so little waste compared
Yeah.
to what it was.
So that's a very important idea. And the marketing material you're developing, is it print? Can you avoid print? If it's digital, I think there's a misconception that digital doesn't have an impact.
Mm-hmm.
It has an impact, has a
Yeah.
footprint. So we need to be mindful of it. It's a different one than the physical one, obviously, but this is something to keep in mind. And I think, you were talking at the paper cup and the conferences, and I think, so again, the climate tech company I'm supporting called One Tribe, they do actually help event organizer have, like, I would say, net zero event, meaning that they're not going to be carbon passive, but
Mm-hmm.
they are measuring the carbon footprint, and they're helping them offset it. And how can we do that? Making sure, like, you report, you measure, we control, and then you can offset it. I think along the way, it's a science, but it's not so complicated. There are so many tools for companies who want to look at their footprints that exist, and there are a lot of free tools. Doesn't mean they're all rubbish. I mean, there are good free tools just to start your journey into understanding, okay, sometimes you don't know, even as a consumer, there are lots of tests online. Okay, if you take the plane more than 3 times a year, there's going to be quite an impact. So how do you compensate, So I always feel like, again, going back to my point, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you need to start somewhere. So you don't get discouraged by those very forward thinking company that are already kind of figured out and the issue, maybe a carbon communication audit.
Mm-hmm.
Usually those ones I've seen, it's rare when it's voluntary. Usually it's the compliance bits. In the UK, for example, the construction company now are going to have to comply with, making sure they do report the carbon emissions. So, and find a plan to reduce and remove.
Yeah.
So, but I think, again, what we were saying is that look at you, even if you don't want to issue an audit report, look at your packaging. You look at your packing. Look at your marketing material. Look at how your supply chain is running. Maybe there's a way, like there's a, and I forgot the name now, but there's a Dutch company that has actually has shipping container that are more like sustainable. So I'm like,
Oh,
maybe you
wow.
go for that. And if it has a financial impact on your product, again, tell the story. Maybe like the few cents that you need to add at the bottom line is going to be repercuted on the price of the customer is buying, But people, when you explain them, it's going to be just a tiny difference, but it's going to make quite a difference on the planet. Usually, if you keep it within a reasonable range, they'll be up for it. So
That's amazing. And I think from what you're saying, to sum up slightly, is that with the brand footprint auditing that a company does, and this will happen in different departments of the company, this can create a very, very strong foundation for the marketing team to then build off, and it will explode in all these different directions, which leads to the loyalty you were talking about, the retention rates, and everything else. So earlier you did mention that there were some kind of free resources that companies can use to get them started. Are there any that you would recommend?
Um, like, I'll be honest with you, you have so many, like you have a carbon accountant firm,
Hmm.
actually that I'm in touch with in the UK, Stanley,
Okay.
Tumley.
Hmm.
So Stanley is a very good resource. They have a lot of reports. One Tribe, so we issuing a couple of free ebooks for people to read. Like the latest one is like debunking carbon footprint, carbon credit myth. You just buying a good conscience. All
Hmm.
carbon footprints are emissions or offsets are created equals. Not true. So I would say One Tribe as a good blog, and a good newsletter. Tunley, you have a company called Beyondly as well, that is doing very good. You have people like Earthly, who are also in the carbon offset space, that will tell you a lot about it. So I think start with that. If you also want to get a bit more familiar with the SDG of the United Nations, I would also invite you to browse to browse the United Nations website to understand what the SDG. I think there are 16 of them now. Like we keep on adding one or two. Because sustainability means many different things. It means gender equalities. It means, obviously taking care of the planet, but as a whole. So what does apply to you? I think just you can't tick all the boxes, and that's all right. I see it when we have, the project we support at One Tribe, they don't tick all the SDG boxes, but they do tick a couple that are important for our clients. So also I think maybe that would be my first step. Check your SDG goal that when you do, remember the phase I was telling you about the brand platform. Look at your brand platform. Maybe gender equality is the one that is most important to you, or protective of indigenous tribe in a certain country because you're very involved in this, or deforestation, like regenerescence of the soil. Not an easy one to say. So all that, those goals are very different, and maybe or restoration of water is something for you, restoration of the ocean, this is your thing. So understand what's important to you, and then you can also start understanding how you can make sure that you are going to be mission driven, tackling those type of issues. Can't live it all.
I think that's great, and I think that's also really good. It's not just obviously for the marketing or for the team, the company. It's for the consumer as well. You have to think about what's really important to you, and then, like you said earlier, look for certifications, ask questions. You can read impact reports and support the brands that show the receipts rather than just a slogan. But
Yeah.
then for marketers, it's like actually, show your audit, show your claims and your content, and what goes well and what goes badly. Collaborate, talk to people and learn, because as you said, sustainability is not just one thing, and greenwashing happens so frequently because it's a lack of education. And I think that was one of the main points as well that you've been bringing up. It's everyone at all the different levels. If you have more access to the information about it, you're really going to be able to spot when the greenwashing is happening, but be aware that it's not just the traditional eco-friendly saving the planet greenwashing. It happens in all the other areas. Well, thank you so much, Carole. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, which I didn't even notice as this conversation was so good. So thank you so much for coming onto the show. Is there anything you would like to say as a finishing point? Anything that you think marketers should really be aware of?
It's a bit going back to my first point, which was, it's the hummingbird theory. We have it in French. We call it the théorie du colibri. So it's really, if everyone does a little, then it's not going to hurt the majority. It's like, try somewhere, don't get discouraged, break it down, into small tasks. What can be done at your level? It's, when it comes to DIB, for example, like I really like seeing employee resource group popping, in companies. This is important. This is, great. Start somewhere, but don't be afraid of, questioning and saying, okay, it's not perfect, but, maybe we went from cotton that was not traceable to bio cotton. And then next step, we're doing actually traceable cotton. You have to start somewhere. And I do believe if we are conscious about it, and if we do a little, now I think recycling is really in the habit. It took a while. Not every country was on board, but now it's a bit like, you feel like, oh, there's only one trash. I have to put my glass and my paper and my rubbish.
Yeah, like how come you're not separating all of this?
Yeah,
What's going on?
exactly. But because we all started, little by little. So I think it's almost a sport. So it's just like practice and repeat and practice and repeat. So, and as marketer, like, backup claims with third-party data, please. Just don't use like, wait, green, what's this name? Just, okay. It's a bit like the reason to believe. You tell me this, give me the reason to believe that you're really doing it properly. Just don't greenwash me. Please, because it's giving people who are genuinely wanting to start a bad name. They're like, oh yeah, but I'm going to get called like a greenwasher. So I think we all have to make this collective efforts to make sure we can back our claim.
So show those receipts no matter how big or small they are.
Absolutely. And
Perfect.
show the journey. It doesn't have to be perfect.
No, and it's often the most interesting part.
Absolutely. You can learn so much from it, right? So as a brand, you can, oh, okay, they did this. Maybe I can do that too.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been brilliant.
Thank you so
And
much.
for all our listeners, we will be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. This has been Masters of Marketing. I hope you have a wonderful day.